Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy? Sports and Fitness Rants. I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Got another great video for you guys today. As usual, you guys know the deal on this channel. It's all about setting the record straight, stopping the lies, stopping the narratives, stopping them from rewriting history, guys. And in this video, we're going to talk about, this is a subscriber-requested video. Shout out to Vernon Lee Warren. Guy's been a true supporter of my channel, man. He's, sent donations to my channel before, man, and always commenting. And like I said, just much respect to Vernon Lee Warren. He asked me a couple of weeks back, I forgot, I'm sorry, man, to do a video on the John Stockton versus Isiah Thomas. And he felt as if John Stockton wasn't, that far behind Isiah Thomas as far as greatness and, as far as their careers go. And I want to talk about these two players and not necessarily try to tear down one or the other or anything like that. But let's just compare their careers and their play styles, man. And let's talk about the John Stockton versus Isiah Thomas angle in this video, guys. So once again, shout out to Vernon Lee Warren. Shout out to all you guys out there, man, for real. Everyone across the world, everyone across the states that's been supporting my channel. I am truly, truly humble, guys. For real, it means a lot that you guys, like I said, you guys even ask me or request me to do videos. You guys ask my opinion on these things, man. It's very humbling for you guys to ask my opinion on this stuff, man. Much respect to all you guys out there, man. Like I said, it means a lot. Shout out to everybody in the membership, man. Thank you, guys. And you guys know what to do. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes. And let's roll. So, yes, guys, like I said, man, shout out to Vernon Lee Warren for, asking me to do this video about John Stockton and Isiah Thomas. Now, he said that he didn't think that John Stockton was that far behind Isiah Thomas. And I feel like if you ask most people, most basketball fans, who's the greater player, Isiah Thomas or John Stockton, I feel like most people would say Isiah Thomas. And there's different reasons why people would say that. You could say that Isiah Thomas was a greater scorer than John Stockton. You could say that Isiah Thomas won championships. John Stockton never won a championship. So these are kinds of things that people will point to show and highlight Isiah Thomas's greatness versus a John Stockton. But if you really dig into their careers, guys, I'm talking about you really look at their careers and then you look at their games, on the court and the impact that they have on the court, they're very close to me. Very close. Now let's go through this. Now, like I said, if we think about John Stockton versus Isiah Thomas, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the difference of play between these players. John Stockton, to me, is literally the prototypical traditional point guard. A guy who doesn't take many shots, doesn't make many mistakes, has a high IQ, could make free throws, play defense. That's traditionally what you want your point guard to do. Be smart with the basketball, right? Good decision maker. Knock down free throws when it comes time to do those things. Have a high IQ, right? Spread the ball around and not take a lot of shots. The point guard's not supposed to be traditionally a guy that's taking 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 shots a game. Now, have there been point guards that have done this? Absolutely. That's what makes the point guard position so dynamic when you think about it. The different kinds of point guard play that we've had in the history of the game. Excuse me, guys. So, just off of that dynamic, that's a difference right there between Isiah Thomas and a John Stockton. To me, John Stockton is a typical, prototypical traditional point guard, a true point guard. Isiah Thomas was a great point guard, but he was more of an offensive-minded point guard than a John Stockton. This is not to take away from Isiah Thomas' passing skills. Isiah Thomas is one of the great passers in NBA's history. But he wasn't as great of a passer as a John Stockton. To me, John Stockton's precision is what separates him from a lot of great players. Did John Stockton have the flashy pass of a Magic Johnson or a Jason Kidd, a Mark Jackson? Maybe not, but it was the precision of John Stockton. All the assists that he has rarely turn the ball over, though. His passes are on the money. So let's think about that, right? You would say Isiah Thomas was a greater scorer than John Stockton. I would give John Stockton the edge passing the basketball. Once again, this does not take away from Isiah Thomas' passing ability. He's an outstanding passer. Dribbling the basketball, I'll give the edge to Isiah Thomas over a John Stockton. This is not to say that John Stockton could not dribble the basketball. Obviously, John Stockton could dribble the ball, even though they'll try to tell you today these guys couldn't dribble. John Stockton was an excellent ball handler, but he wasn't on Isiah Thomas's level, even though a lot of people, like I said, will say that these guys couldn't dribble the basketball. Isiah Thomas had some nasty handles, guys. Nasty handles. So I'll give him the edge over at John Stockton. Defensively, I'm giving the edge to John Stockton. I think it's a no-brainer. I do not believe Isiah Thomas ever made an all-defensive team. John Stockton made about 5 all-defensive teams, if I remember correctly, in his career. And John Stockton was known for being a dirty-type player, not in the way of a Detroit Pistons and Isiah Thomas team, dirty, trying to hurt people and doing cheap stuff after the whistle. But John Stockton was known for being a very hard-nosed, gritty player, which sometimes will come across as dirty when you're grabbing people's shorts and you're pulling on them and you're trying to hold their arm here and there. These little tricks of the trade that you learn and you develop over the years. But John Stockton was a tenacious defensive player. Like I said, he gave the effort on both sides of the ball, much more consistently than an Isiah Thomas. So I'll give the edge to a John Stockton defensively over Isiah Thomas. So if we think about all those things, it shows you how some of these players are, how close it is to compare them. Once again, we give the edge scoring-wise to Isiah Thomas. Passing the ball, I'll give the edge to John Stockton. Leadership, I guess they're pretty much even. I would maybe go with Isiah Thomas on the leadership, maybe a little bit. Maybe John Stockton. I said it's pretty even there. You know, we talk about Isiah Thomas on this channel, him walking off the court. That doesn't show true leadership, right? But Isiah Thomas was able to lead the Detroit Pistons franchise to 2 championships, right, as their best player. But leadership, we could maybe say it's equal. Maybe you want to give the edge to John Stockton, right? John Stockton, you know, like I said, very level-headed. You never saw John Stockton get out of character. Very few times did you ever see John Stockton lose his cool, so to speak. Even though he was a true competitor, John Stockton, he rarely lost his cool, and that goes to his leadership and stuff like that. But there's a lot of things about these careers there's some things about these careers that I don't think a lot of people realize as far as John Stockton goes and why some people might think that John Stockton is a greater point guard than Isiah Thomas. Like I said, if you want to say traditionally, you could argue John Stockton is the greatest point guard of all time as far as just straight up point guard. You know, he's up there with Magic Johnson, man, as far as pure point guard play. Guys who don't take a lot of shots, right? Who don't need to score the basketball to be effective, right? So let's think about John Stockton, right? 9 times assist title. You guys probably know that. 9-time assist champion, man. I mean, it's insane. The man was like 9 straight assist titles. And literally, John Stockton's first year as a starter was 1988, the 1988 season. And from the first year he became a full-time starter, the man went on a run of 9 straight assist titles. All right? 2 times a steal champion, 5 times all-defensive. Like I said, I believe he was a 1-time All-Star Game MVP. If I remember, he was a co-All-Star Game MVP with Karl Malone in Utah. I don't remember which All-Star Game that was. Maybe 93. I can't remember which All-Star Game it was, but they were co-MVPs of the All-Star Game, John Stockton, Karl Malone. I believe John Stockton, for his career, averaged 9 shots a game, guys. Think about that. He averaged 9 shots a game for his career. I believe the highest field goal attempts per game, he had in his career, I believe was 11.9, I want to say. But the man averaged 9 shots a game for his career. That's pure point guard play, guys. 9 shots a game for his career. That's a pass-first player. Oftentimes you'll hear that term thrown out, he's a pass-first player. They're throwing it out now when it's not really apropos. John Stockton was a true pass-first player. The man passed way more than he ever shot. Way more. Man averaged 9 shots a game for his career. Now let's think about, I think he was an 11-time All-NBA. And I believe he was a 10-time All-Star. Now, I want you guys to remember the All-NBA selections because this is going to come into play here. Isiah Thomas, 12-time All-Star, 1-time assist champion, a 2-time All-Star Game MVP for Isiah Thomas. And he was the 1990 Finals MVP for the champion Detroit Pistons, right? In their back-to-back titles, Isiah Thomas won the Finals MVP in 1990. And what's crazy is, if you think about Isiah Thomas, I believe he made about 4 or 5 All-NBA teams. And what's really interesting about the All-NBA selections, guys, when as it relates to a John Stockton versus Isiah Thomas angle, we're talking about these comparisons, I don't think a lot of people realize that John Stockton was outperforming Isiah Thomas and earning accolades, these All-NBA teams, over Isiah Thomas. And it's Isiah Thomas at his prime. This is not Isiah Thomas at 40 years old. This is prime Isiah Thomas, and John Stockton was getting all NBA selections above Isiah Thomas. Now, let's remember, The All-NBA was only 2 teams up until the 1989 season, right? The 88-89 season, they introduced a third All-NBA team. Prior to that, all the years prior, guys, there was a first-team All-NBA and a second-team All-NBA. That was it. There was no third-team All-NBA prior to the 1989 season. From 1988, guys, to Isiah Thomas's retirement, he never made an All-NBA team. Not one single All-NBA team, guys. From 1988 to 1994 when he retired, guys. You're talking about 6 seasons there. Didn't sniff one All-NBA team, guys. Not one. And why am I bringing this up? Well, it just so happens that John Stockton was getting these All-NBA selections over Isiah Thomas. In 1988, and I wrote this down so I made sure I was accurate. In 1988, John Stockton's first year as a full-time starter, guys, he made the All-NBA second team. Isiah Thomas did not make the All-NBA team. None. Not the first or second, guys. Now, remember, something else you guys must also know. All-NBA, it doesn't matter about point guard or shooting guard or small forward, power forward. That's not what goes. It's 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center, guys. That's how it traditionally goes. It doesn't matter if there's 2 point guards, 2 shooting guards. It's 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center, guys. That's how it works. So in 88, Isiah Thomas did not make an All-NBA team, but John Stockton made an All-NBA team while leading the league in assists that season, also making the playoffs for the Utah Jazz. 1989, Isiah Thomas did not make an All-NBA team, guys. Not even an All-NBA third team. Remember, that was the first year they introduced the All-NBA third team, guys. So in 1989, John Stockton made the second All-NBA team. So you had Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan was the All-NBA first team for the guard position. Then I believe for the second team, it was John Stockton and I believe Clyde Drexler. I could be wrong. And then, if you guys want to hear something crazy, you know who else made an All-NBA team over Isiah Thomas? Mark Price, guys. That's right. In 1989, Mark Price, who never gets mentioned, who's very underrated, who I told you guys should probably be a Hall of Famer or would have been a Hall of Famer had he not had some injuries, in his career and cut his career a little bit short. But Mark Price was an outstanding point guard. Like I said, he was that next tier, right after the top guys, the Magic Johnsons, the John Stocktons, the Isiah Thomases. You have a Mark Price. Mark Price made a third All-NBA team in 1989, guys, above Isiah Thomas. Let's think about 1990. 1990, John Stockton made the second All-NBA team. Once again, Isiah Thomas did not make an All-NBA team in 1990, guys. This is peak Isiah Thomas. They're winning championships. 89-90, Isiah Thomas is now the All-NBA team. But this is where it gets interesting for Isiah Thomas, guys. In 1990, Isiah Thomas did not make an All-NBA team, guys. But you know who did? His teammate, Joe Dumars, made an All-NBA team over Isiah Thomas. You know who else also made an All-NBA team over Isiah Thomas? Kevin Johnson, guys, made an All-NBA team over Isiah Thomas. So these are guards. Remember, it's the guard position. Now point guard or shooting guard, it's the guard position. So you had guys like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Clyde Drexler, John Stockton. Man, you have Joe Dumars and Kevin Johnson on the All-NBA team over Isiah Thomas. So Isiah Thomas' teammate made the All-NBA team in 1990 over him. Let's think about the 1991 season. John Stockton made third-team All-NBA, guys, in 1991. Once again, Isiah Thomas did not make an All-NBA selection. You had guys like Kevin Johnson make it over him, who was second-team All-NBA over Isiah Thomas at the point guard position. John Stockton was third-team All-NBA at the point guard position. And then even Joe Dumars, again, made an All-NBA team at the guard position above Isiah Thomas, guys. These are the facts I'm telling you right now. 1992. Once again, Isiah Thomas, no All-NBA team. John Stockton was second-team All-NBA. Mark Price made the All-NBA team over Isiah Thomas. Kevin Johnson made the All-NBA team over Isiah Thomas. And why am I mentioning these guys? They're the point guards. These are the other point guards at that time from the late 80s into the early 90s that was going against Isiah Thomas for these All-NBA selections. And they were outperforming Isiah Thomas. They were getting these selections over Isiah Thomas. Once again, I'm not saying these guys are greater all-time than Isiah Thomas, but this highlights something that people don't really think about or really understand or realize. Isiah Thomas has 12 All-Star selections, guys, but only like 5 All-NBA selections. Meanwhile, John Stockton has only 10 All-Star selections, so Isiah Thomas 12, but he has 11 All-NBA selections. 11. Isiah Thomas not even close to that, guys. And a lot of these All-NBA selections, John Stockton was getting over Isiah Thomas. Not when Isiah Thomas retired and then all of a sudden John Stockton started making All-NBA selections. These are during Isiah Thomas' peak years. 88, 89, 90, 91, 92. And then now in 1993, once again, Isiah Thomas, no All-NBA selection. John Stockton was second-team All-NBA. And then and then you had other guys. Mark Price made it over him. Joe Dumars once again made All-NBA selection over Isiah Thomas. And Tim Hardaway, guys. That's right. Tim Hardaway, another point guard, made the All-NBA selection over Isiah Thomas in 1993. And then after the 1994 season, Isiah Thomas would retire. Once again, no All-NBAs in 1994 for Isiah Thomas. Now, I said all that not to take away from Isiah Thomas, but to highlight John Stockton and some of the other great point guards of the late 80s into the early 90s and how they were getting these accolades. They were making these teams over Isiah Thomas. So as great as Isiah Thomas was, there was other guys that were great. There was competition there at that point guard position. Magic Johnson was always on the first team All-NBA. There was no debate between Magic Johnson and some of these other guys. Once again, I told you guys, it's guards. Not point guard and shooting guard. It's guards for all NBA selections. Right? That's what makes it tougher. You're going against all the guards, not just the point guards. But as you can see, there were many other point guards making all NBA teams over Isiah Thomas. Mark Price, who people disrespect, don't even talk about. Tim Hardaway. Kevin Johnson, who should be a first ballot Hall of Famer, Kevin Johnson. But he's not. These are the guys that are making all NBA selections over Isiah Thomas. And obviously, John Stockton was getting these selections over Isiah Thomas. So, this highlights John Stockton's greatness on both sides of the ball, his impact. Now, before people start talking about, oh, John Stockton never won anything, excuse me, guys, again. I think my throat's getting a little dry here. Let's think about this. People often point to Karl Malone to excuse John Stockton's greatness. Oh, John Stockton only had this many assists because he was passing to Karl Malone. They're taking away from John Stockton's greatness because they're once again forgetting the precision of John Stockton. Anytime John Stockton gave the ball to Karl Malone, he put it on the money, which allowed Karl Malone to go right into his shot or to be successful in his motion. That is called precision. On time, on target. That's John Stockton, guys. If you get nothing else from this video, remember that about John Stockton. On time and on target. At all times, and most times. That helps Karl Malone. Helps Karl Malone, guys. So we can't excuse John Stockton's greatness or Karl Malone's greatness. They were a duo, right? They helped each other. Don't forget, John Stockton played defense, so did Karl Malone, guys. And let's not forget, John Stockton was on the Utah Jazz the season before Karl Malone came, right? Stockton came in 85 with Michael Jordan, Olajuwon, and those guys. And then Karl Malone came in 86 the next season. And I want you guys to think about the teams and think about the era that John Stockton came in the 90s, guys, right? Now, I wrote this down because when people talk about, oh, John Stockton never won anything, Isiah Thomas won 2 championships. Yes, Isiah Thomas had a very good team. Did John Stockton play on a very good team? Yes, he did. In the mid to late 90s, he was on a very excellent team, which is why they went to back-to-back NBA finals. They almost went to 3 straight finals, guys. In 1996, they went 7 games with the Seattle Supersonics, guys, in the Western Conference Finals. So they were a game away from going to 3 straight NBA finals. This is how formidable they were. Formidable. But once again, Isiah Thomas' team was very formidable. And the thing about the Western Conference that John Stockton and Karl Malone was playing in versus the top-heavy Eastern Conference that Isiah Thomas was battling in, where you had teams like the Boston Celtics, the Philadelphia Sixers, the Atlanta Hawks. These were the top teams in the East. Maybe the Milwaukee Bucks, the Washington Bullets. But it was a top-heavy NBA in the 80s, right? You had top-heavy teams. The Celtics and the Lakers dominated the 80s, right? Because they had great teams. And it was a top-heavy conference for the Eastern Conference. When you think about the Western Conference, when John Stockton and Karl Malone were there in the 90s, it was spread out. I tell you guys, the 90s, Eastern Conference and Western Conference, they were spread out. They were good teams from top to bottom. So, John Stockton on the Utah Jazz, guys, played, I want to say they went to 5 Western Conference Finals, guys. 5 Western Conference Finals during that time. 1992, 1994, 1996, 1997, and 1998, guys. So they were very, very competitive. They were a formidable team. But there were many other great teams in the Western Conference that they were battling year after year after year. In 1988, the Utah Jazz lost in 7 games, guys, to the Los Angeles Lakers in 88. The Lakers that would win the championship in 88. They went 7 games with the Utah Jazz, guys. Once again, this was John Stockton, his first year as a starter in 88. In 1990, the Utah Jazz went 5 games in the first round, a 5-game series with the Phoenix Suns. And Kevin Johnson, Tom Chambers, Jeff Hornacek, Mark West. They had a very good team. They went 7 games in the first round with the Phoenix Suns, and they lost that round. In 93, they won a 5-game series with the Sonics in 1993, a very good Sonics team, right? In 1994, they went 7 games, and they won a series against the Denver Nuggets that at that time, if you guys remember, 1994, they were the first 8 seed to beat a number 1 seed. They were the first one to do that in 1994. They beat that Denver Nuggets team. They won 7 games with that Denver Nuggets team, guys. 7-game series in 1994. In 95, they won 5 games with the eventual defending champions and eventual champions, Houston Rockets, in the first round. 5 games against the Houston Rockets with Clyde Drexler, Hakeem Olajuwon. 5 games in 95. In 96, like I just told you guys, they went 7 games with the Sonics. 7 games with the Sonics. And then we all know in 1998, they went 5 games in the first round against the Houston Rockets with Charles Barkley, Clyde Drexler, and Hakeem Olajuwon, guys. They went 5 games in the first round, and they beat the Rockets. So you see all these, they either went 5 or 7 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different times in the 90s and in 88. 7 different times from the minute that John Stockton became a starter. So the Utah Jazz were a formidable team, but can anyone name me the players on the Utah Jazz other than Karl Malone? Can you name me anyone else on the Utah Jazz other than Karl Malone? Because that's all you hear. Oh, John Stockton had Karl Malone. Boy, Isiah Thomas had Dennis Rodman. Joe Dumas has, as you can see, made multiple All-NBA teams above Isiah Thomas when Isiah Thomas was still peaking. I mean, not peaking at his peak. Still a very great player. It was Joe Dumars making All-NBA selections over Isiah Thomas at the guard position. All right, so his teammates were obviously very good. Bill Laimbeer's a borderline Hall of Famer, guys. He was setting records shooting 3-pointers in the finals. Remember, Michael Jordan tied his record for most 3.5 in the NBA Finals. Bill Laimbeer, a 6'10" guy shooting 3s. Right? John Isiah was a very good defensive player. You had guys like Mark Aguirre throughout the years, Adrian Dantley on that team throughout the years, the Rick Mahorns, the Vin and Microwave Johnsons. You're coached by Chuck Daly. Let's not act like Isiah Thomas wasn't playing with great players. He was on a great team with great players, guys. Very good players. Doesn't take away from Isiah Thomas' greatness, but can you name me the players that John Stockton played with other than Karl Malone? Who are you going to name? Before, think about in the late 80s, when John Stockton first became a starter, you have Karl Malone, John Stockton. Can anyone name me anybody else? How about Thurl Bailey? Does anybody know Thurl Bailey? How about Bob Hansen? He was the starting shooting guard for the Utah. Bob Hansen. All right, in the late 80s and the early 90s. Then they would have a guy like a Jeff Malone. They had Mark Eaton on that team in the late 80s into the early 90s. So you had Karl Malone, John Stockton, and Mark Eaton, which is why the Utah Jazz were always a formidable defensive team. One of the very few West Coast teams that played defense like that. So you had Mark Eaton, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Thurl Bailey, Bob Hansen. And then you would have guys like Jeff Malone, and then they would trade Jeff Malone for Jeff Hornacek, right? And then they would bring in these pieces around them, right? The Byron Russells, right? The Antoine Carrs, the Greg Ostertags, the Adam Keefes, the Chris Morrises. Like, these are players that would fill in the role player spots around Karl Malone and John Stockton. But from those late 80s and those early 90s, this was a formidable team with great players all over the place. John Stockton was a true point guard, a true floor general. Ran the team. He was an extension of Jerry Sloan. He was gritty. He was tough. And the dude was durable. The Iron Man. Now, I know AC Green has the Iron Man streak, but John Stockton, damn it, this man got into a car accident going to a game and then still showed up in the game and played. So, as you guys can see, man, I'm not going to say Isiah Thomas is greater than John Stockton or John Stockton is greater than Isiah Thomas. I think if you told me that you had John Stockton above Isiah Thomas, you could make an argument here. You could make the argument. And if you say Isiah Thomas is greater than John Stockton, once again, you have the argument there. To me, Isiah Thomas was more of a scorer. Obviously, John Stockton was more of a passer, guys. Isiah Thomas, I believe, for his career, I want to say he averaged 16 shots a game for his career. John Stockton, guys, averaged 9. That's a huge difference, guys. Huge difference. At his peak, Isiah Thomas, I believe, was 19 shots a game. John Stockton was 11, guys. It's a huge difference. Huge difference. Isiah Thomas was an excellent passer. John Stockton, excellent passer. The defensive end, going with John Stockton all day, every day. You guys let me know what you think. Shout out to Vern Lee Warren. Thank you for asking. I know this video went a little bit long, but let me know what you guys think about the All-NBA selections. Some of these guys that were making these teams above Isiah Thomas. I don't think a lot of people realize this. Like I said, Isiah Thomas is a great, all-time great point guard. If you told me he was top 5, I got no problem with those kinds of statements. Like I said, man, he's got a resume. You guys know the deal, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one.